On. Call the court to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge. Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be led by Pastor Dale Shorter with the Harvest Assembly of God Church. If you will, please remain standing after the invocation for the pledges. Morning.
Good morning. Father, we're just so grateful today for your blessings in our lives, and Lord, for this nation, our community. And we pray, Lord God, that today as we consider these situations and opportunities before us, that you would just give guidance and wisdom. I pray, Father God, you who hold all the answers, Father God, to every dilemma, would give us wisdom and clarity of thought today. In Jesus' wonderful name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Thank you very much, Master. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the court, we have one agenda announcement, actually two announcements, and that is, the first one is under the auditor's section, item 8B1. We are going to hold that report until next week. Also, members of the court, just to remind you that we do not have anything on close today, so we will not be going into closed session.
Thank you for that. We have our minutes.
Move approval of the minutes.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? There being none, please vote. Push my button over there for me, please.
And yours too, Gary.
And yours.
What's this one?
The vote is unanimous.
Like the legislature. Don't go there.
We have two proclamations. We have proclamation for National Adoption Day, and Commissioner Roy Brooks is going to read that into the record and make the presentation. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of Judge Whitley, we have the following resolution: Tarrant County Adoption Day. Whereas there are thousands of Texas children who have been abused or neglected or abandoned by their natural birth parents, and more than 1,100 of these children are in Tarrant County. And whereas many of these children's only hope for a full and productive life is to be accepted by loving homes. And whereas adoption allows children to be reared in a safe, loving, and nurturing environment, as adoptive parents take on the role of guiding, teaching, nurturing, and loving children in order to provide them the best possible chance for being productive citizens. And whereas we commend these families for the sacrifices they are willing to make to enhance the lives of these children, and whereas the children being adopted today by these loving and special families will have a new chance in life to fulfill their hopes and dreams, and whereas this is a special day to celebrate, and we send our best wishes to the children whose adoptions are made final today, and to the wonderful families who will give them unconditional love. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim November 21st, 2014 as Tarrant County Adoption Day. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 18th day of November 2014. I move approval of this resolution.
Second. Motion made and second. Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
And although this proclamation references children to be adopted today, National Adoption Day is actually the 21st, which I assume is Saturday, and that Friday. And those children will be adopted on that day. Here to accept the proclamation is Nancy Gordon, National Adoption Day Committee Chair. Nancy, would you please meet me at the podium?
Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Commissioner Vickers, how are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Aren't we doing something Friday morning?
Yes, we are.
I thought so.
I will be in contact with you. I've got some.
Okay.
Is this a private
No,
conversation?
it's not. Anyone may join.
We've known
Anyone may
each other a
join.
long time.
Please, Nancy.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners Court and the citizens of Tarrant County for recognizing Tarrant County Adoption Day. This year, we're going to have approximately 47 families and 67 children. So some people are getting a double dose of family life, and we're very excited about that. We're going to start at 8:30 in the morning on Friday, and it's going to be a wonderful day, so we're really looking forward to it, and thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you,
for all
Nancy.
you do. Thank you.
I'm surprised I didn't see the phrase "forever families" in this resolution, but maybe next year.
I have a resolution for Saginaw United Methodist Church. It's for their 100-year celebration. This is for ratification only. I will be presenting this Sunday at their church, so I'd move for its ratification.
Second.
Motion made and second. Please vote. Vote is unanimous. We have our consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Okay?
Thank you, Commissioner. Members of the Court, we have three additional items. On item number 1, under the Administrator's section, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an agreement between Tarrant County and the 8th Administrative Judicial District of the state of Texas to employ an administrative assistant.
Move approvals.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Members of the Court, we can go to item number 2. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve an exception to the county smoking policy to prohibit smoking on the grounds of the Northeast Sub-Courthouse.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Finally, members of the Court, on item number 3, we're requesting that the Court approve a resolution which relates to the use of tax-exempt financing which was issued by the Roman Forest Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation in a maximum principal amount of $2.4 million for the benefit of legal aid of Northwest Texas. This is to finance and refinance certain facilities located within Tarrant County. You might note that this action is required solely to comply with the Internal Revenue Code.
Is there a motion?
I'll move approval, though I'm offended that they would go to this organization of which we've never heard to get bonds that they could have gotten here. That's just an editorial comment.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yes, sir.
Did anybody second this motion?
Not yet.
I'll second for discussion. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Excuse me. Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yes, sir. Mr. Phillips. Good morning.
Commissioners. How are y'all?
Good.
Morning.
We would like to have you approve and canvass the results of the November 4 general election. Once you canvass these results, they will become official, and we'll report those numbers to the state today.
And we'll have some officially re-elected folk around here?
Well, two of us that are here and the judge.
And one standing over there in the corner.
For better or for worse.
And one sitting out here. Several of us. Well, I want to congratulate you and the Elections Administration for an outstanding job.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Have a wonderful staff, and they make us all look good.
I move approval of the canvass.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Now, Commissioner, did you have a fairly high percentage of the vote in your,
It's
compared to
considerably higher than,
other elected officials?
it was considerably higher than Mr. Wilder's. Just sit down, Tom. You are now in the second chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You're welcome. Human Resources, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning, Ms. Glenn.
Good morning. Good morning. We have three items for the court this morning. The first item, we're asking the court to receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote's unanimous.
Our second item, we're asking the court to approve a letter of agreement with the Hay Group, Inc. As outlined, or as explained in your court communique, we're requesting that Hay conduct our employee engagement survey, which is consistent with the county's strategic plan initiative 3.1.3. The survey will report out the level of employee satisfaction and engagement across the county, along with a plan to address any areas of weaknesses that are identified in the survey. We're estimating that the cost for the survey will not exceed $30,000, and the budget director has allocated funds for this project.
Move for approval.
I will second with a question.
Motion made and second. Mr. Brooks.
I understand the concept of employee satisfaction, though I question that it should be a $30,000 issue. But what is employee engagement, and how do you intend to measure it?
Well, the way that the survey is constructed is that we'll sit down, assuming that the court approves this item today, and we'll select from a menu of 76 questions, questions that we can ask employees. The dimensions that will be measured, employees will be asked about their engagement, if they feel like they are engaged in the workplace, if their feedback is solicited and valued. They'll get to respond to questions about training that's offered by the county. I know that when you all had your meetings, I guess last year there were some concerns and questions about training. Employees will get to respond to questions about pay and benefits, respect and recognition, which I've already mentioned, development opportunities, collaboration. So there are a whole host of things that these questions then try to measure based upon responses from our employees. And typically employees are given a window of about 2 to 3 weeks to respond to the questions. We have talked in HR about some areas where we may actually go out and assist employees with completing the tools or the survey if the departments desire that from us. So it's really a comprehensive look at all of the areas that I've outlined. And again, once pardon me, once the consultant then receives the responses, the court will be given a report, there'll be a presentation, and along with the findings, there will be an opportunity then for the consultant to recommend ways that we might address weaknesses that are revealed in the survey.
So this will be targeted to every county employee?
Yes, sir. Every county employee will have an opportunity to participate. It's completely voluntary, but every employee will have an opportunity to respond.
Management as well?
Yes, sir.
Will this court have the opportunity to provide our inputs to the questions?
Yes.
At least the court, maybe other department heads, I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
What about the employees? Do they have to respond with their name? Or
No,
can
these
they
are
do
these
so
are anonymous
anonymously?
surveys.
Okay. These are anonymous surveys.
Yes, sir.
Okie dokie.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you. And then our third and final item, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the ME's office. We're estimating net savings for this request, if granted, will be approximately $4,400.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Tina.
Purchasing. Mr. Beecham.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have a presentation to make this morning, if you'll indulge me just for a moment, since Judge Whitley could not be here today. Would not, could not. I know that I would have probably been wearing a hat if the score would have been reversed, but we were able to come up with, produce a loser's hat with the score of the game. And I can't tell you where the idea came from in the administrator's office, but a loser's hat with the score, and the most appropriate thing, a big weenie for not being here today. So,
You'll be leaving that with them?
yes, sir, I'm sure his staff will hopefully.
Yeah, let me have that. I'll put it up here in the appropriate place with all the counts.
And the score was what, Mr. Beecham?
17-0.
And which
Arkansas.
institutions were?
ARK-ANSAS, thank you. Members of the court, we do have 4 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-005, annual contract for paper and plastic products. Our recommendation will be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Our second item is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-018. This is our annual contract for office supplies. Our recommendation will be awarded to Staples Advantage on a per enterprise basis. The significant thing about this particular contract, there are 52 entities that presently piggyback off that contract with Tarrant County. This is the contract whereby we were able to bring the court a sizable check as income in December. That increase to Tarrant County has grown from the previous amount of 3% to 4.5% that Tarrant County will receive as revenue from the participating entities.
Where's the check?
You'll get it 45 days after December 31. I think the check this year was for $236,000, and we expect that to grow significantly.
Thank you so much.
Staples Advantage, Steve Suk, Dave Gorman, and Kathy Hanna are here today. If the court has any questions for them, we do expect this contract to grow because of the contract length term of 1 year and 4 one-year renewals. So we will keep you posted on those rebates as they come in.
We appreciate their partnership.
Yeah, very good.
They've been an excellent vendor for us. Thank you, Commissioner.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Any additional discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Item number 3 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-021. This is our annual contract for inmate hygiene supplies. Our recommendation will be to award a per unit price basis and a discount from list price, awarding to the primary, secondary, and alternate vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move for approval.
Staples doesn't carry that stuff?
I'll second for discussion. Any further discussion?
Have you asked him, Joe?
No, sir. Our last item is an item in regards to RFP.
Wait.
Vote is unanimous. Go ahead.
Sorry. 2015-006. This is an RFP for the specialty court software and services of the Drug Impact Rehabilitation Enhanced Comprehensive Treatment Drug Court. We're asking the court to allow us to reject all the proposals and rebid with revised specifications. There were problems with the specifications and the evaluation criteria, and we honestly don't think we can bid this fairly without those changes.
Reject all proposals.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. And we'll make sure the judge gets your hat. Tax assessor and collector.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning, Tom.
The tax office respectfully requests the Commissioners Court approve a contract between the county and Kroger. This contract will allow Kroger to sell renewal stickers at their locations. Tax office is very pleased to present this to you today in a new partnership with Kroger. They will bring 28 stores to sell renewals only, current renewals only, not titles. As a point of information, last year the existing contract location sold about 200,000 renewals out of about 1.5 million. Kroger will more than double the number of locations that are available to our citizens. So we think this is a win-win both for the tax office, the citizens, and for Kroger. We are very excited about this new partnership and relationship.
How many locations?
There's 28 Kroger locations all across the county. It's a great opportunity.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Is there any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you.
Tom.
Mr. Riley.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
We request the approval of a resolution declaring 2 tracts of land on New Patterson containing 1.428 and 0.927 acres as surplus real property, and an order appointing Jeannie Green as a commissioner to sell this surplus real property by way of public auction pursuant to Section 263.001A of the Texas Local Government Code.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Is there any discussion? There being none, I'll please vote. Vote is unanimous. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
County Judge and Commissioners, I have interlocal agreement with the City of Lake Worth and the City of Azle, item 8M1 A through D. I'd move for its approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Any appointments today?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
This is, and we passed this out. This is to the Tarrant County Historical Commission, and I'd like to appoint Mr. Jim Hodson from Grapevine to the commission, and you see a letter from Mr. Hodson and a brief biography. So, move approval.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. We've had a lot of interest in the Historical Commission here recently. I've got a couple of pending. If any of y'all have vacancies that you need someone to appoint, I've got 2 people that really want to serve on that committee. Mine are all full at the present time.
I will check on that for you.
Okay.
We will
Thank
let you know. we've got people that want to serve. On that commission, we want to engage.
I have two applications, and both of them are well qualified.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have two openings?
Any bonds today? No? Not yet. We have our claims.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Vote is unanimous. Mr. Manius, briefing items.
Thank you, Commissioner. We have one briefing item to bring to you this morning. It's item A, which is a report on the County Uniform Recidivism Measure project. I'd like to introduce Dr. Tony Fabello. Dr. Fabello is the Director of Research of the Research Division for the Council of State Governments Justice Center. Been a longtime friend and has represented local governments very well in Austin as it relates to criminal justice.
Good morning.
Well, welcome. Morning.
First time you see my ugly face here, but I've been around here for a while. GK has been a friend for, 30 years or so, not revealing our age, right?
Childhood friends.
Childhood friends. Done a lot of work with your new DA that was here. Just ran into her across the hall. Ran into Gib Lewis across the hall. He recognized my face. Used to work with Tom Wilder in the old days. I was the director of the Criminal Justice Policy Council for many years in Austin, and we did a lot of work trying to improve information systems in Texas. A lot of stuff that you see now with live scan fingerprint systems we put in place. A lot of stuff that you see now with better computer information we put in place. And then we did a lot of these studies and so forth. Done a lot of work with the probation department, adult and juvenile here, Layton House on the adult side. I was just meeting with Randy Turner, who does a great job with juveniles here. So anyway, and Judge Whitley, who I think is obviously not present today, but we've done a lot of work with him in the Texas Indigent Defense Commission the last 10 years or so. So pleasure to be here. I love this place, and I just want to take a few minutes and show you the results of the first year of this project that actually started with a lot of leadership here by your criminal justice planner, Les Smith, working with his group of planners in the other large counties. And he approached me, and the other guys approached me and said, it'd be good if for the first time in the history of Texas, each of our big counties can look at recidivism with a uniform way of doing it and measure it and start getting a picture of what that is like in terms of comparing Tarrant, and you see a comparison today between Tarrant and Bexar County, and I'm completing the Bexar County report this month, and we're going to have El Paso. And are you flipping these slides? Or I am? I do it here? Yes. Too high tech?
Go down.
Ah, okay, awesome. So I know you're looking at that. So that's a report, 40 pages with a lot of figures, very specific figure. First time ever in the history of the state that we're going to be able, at the end, probably in mid-year next year, to compare recidivism rates across the counties. Do it in a way that include an apples-to-apple comparison, because we can control for the risk of the population. And if you've been dealing with the counties like I have for many years, they always say, you cannot compare me to Bexar County because we have different populations, and that is totally true. So what we do is develop a risk factor where we can determine what percentage of the population is low risk, medium risk, high risk, and make those comparisons like that. And I will show you that in a minute. The next slide, let's see, this one, it shows you the counties that are already in the project: Harris County, Dallas, Bexar. We're about to complete the report this month. Tarrant County, you were the first out of the gate, like I said, thanks to the leadership of Les and your people here like GK and your support. El Paso, we actually got the contract right now, so they're on board. The first report is the one that you see for Tarrant County. So here's what we did. We are tracking different populations in the county. We're tracking people that are released from jail on commercial bond, on PR bond, after completing the jail sentence. We're tracking the people that are placed on probation. There are two ways of getting to probation is with deferred adjudication, which you don't have a full conviction, and regular probation. We're tracking those populations. And then we're tracking what we call the state population. Those are populations that are in these counties, but they have gone through the state facilities, the state jails, prison, released from prison to supervision, and released directly to the street from prison. And we're going to be doing a 1-year, 2-year, and 3-year recidivism rate. And recidivism means whether you have been rearrested during the 1-year period, during the 2-year period, during the 3-year period. And we measure that by accessing the records of the Department of Public Safety. So we have access to all the criminal history files of these people that we are tracking, and we can do that in a very uniform way in Tarrant County and across the counties. And the reason to have a uniform definition and a uniform methodology is because if you don't, you start comparing apples and oranges. And this is the biggest example of why it's important to have this definition, because in your case, for example, in Tarrant County, you tend to report to DPS those people arrested for misdemeanor Cs, which are like public order offenses, like the ones that I have in the example there, where Bexar County doesn't. And when we have Harris County, we'll have even more reporting of misdemeanor C, because they tend to do more of that. And the reason is that that specific offense is voluntary for the counties to report to DPS, while every other offense higher than that has to be automatically reported. So we adjust these numbers later, so you see what are the differences here to make these comparisons apples to apples and so forth. But this is a good example, as well as this whole risk assessment for the population. So let me give you the first shot at this 1-year recidivism rate. And we presented this to your coordinating council last month, and we spent like 3 hours of conversation about what is it that this means. And I just want to make very sure that you understand that we're not digging deeper. We're just going across and for the first time putting these numbers in a way that everybody agree is the best definition and the best methodology. And it's a pointer to certain areas that you may want to look deeper, because you need to address some issues that might be impacting your recidivism, that might be impacting the jail population coming in and the management of jail. So I just want to make that clarification. We're not going deep, because this is the first shot at just getting these numbers, square away. This is the 1-year rearrest rate for all your jail releases. 26% of them get rearrested during that 1-year period. And when you look at the different populations, you see that those released on bond have a 21% rearrest rate, commercial bond 26%, and after sentence, meaning the people that spend time in jail for a sentence, they have a very high recidivism rate, 36%. And that's 1 year. When we get to do the 3 years, you'll see that number being higher and higher. Those are people circulating in your jail, and that's kind of the first pointer that we discussed during the conversation with the coordinating council. That's what's going on there. I don't know the answer to that, but it's something that points to that. From a state perspective, you see here the recidivism rate of the different populations, and I'm highlighting the state jail releases. These are people that go to a state facility for low-level drug and property offenses. And their recidivism rate is very high, and I'll show you later the comparison on the 5 counties that we already have. Is high in every county. And this is something that is already going to impact state policy, because I've been talking to the people in the Capitol and saying there's something that we need to do with the state jail population, because you cannot have this high recidivism rate and think that we're doing a good job with this population. So during the next session, this is already going to make it in their radar screen. And this is a good example of how this project is already going to have an impact. And this affects your jail, because when these people get arrested and arrested again, they go first to the jail, they get booked pending a transfer to TDCJ, or if they're going to be revoked, a transfer to the prison system. So this is one of those pointers. Let me tell you a little bit about risk. The different populations in the different counties have different risk factors. So we take the information that we have that is research-based, and based on these 4 factors that correlate to risk, we look at the population in Tarrant County and say, given the relation between these 4 factors and risk, how do your population distribute, and how is your recidivism rate by risk, and how this compares to Bexar County and later to Harris, Dallas, El Paso. This is the distribution of, in general, of the rearrest rates by risk level in Tarrant County. So when we say, you, Commissioner Johnson, we classify you as low risk, that means that your rearrest rate for that first year was 14%. And you, Commissioner Gary Fix, that's how you pronounce his last name? Okay, good. I did good. My Cuban accent is not coming, but when you look at him and he's a high risk, 42%. You're 42%, if you fall in that group, 42% of those people will be rearrested that year. So we're going to control for that, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that. And
You
again,
have him in the right category.
yeah, I don't know. Is there any truth to that? And just coincidentally, I just put it there. He doesn't look like a high risk, honestly.
Look can be deceiving. Look can be deceiving.
Yeah. But you hit on a very interesting point. This is why we do this, and this is why we do in this system, because through the years now, we have been improving the risk assessment and probation. For example, I was just talking to Randy Turner about doing that in the juvenile system and doing a better job, because this is what gives you the empirical basis to basically say the way he looks like a high risk or low risk. So based on these characteristics and assessment, you put people in a category that is sustained by a better work in terms of the data.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir, anytime.
If an individual is rearrested twice in
Right.
1 year,
Right.
do you count that as twice? You count
No.
that as one?
One. So that percentage, so we basically saying, and we can break the numbers, and actually, Les, I think in the report, we have the percentage of those people that year came once or twice or 3 times. We can show, that's in the report. But the reason, the trick here is you need to have a uniform tracking period. Everybody that we track has to be exposed to a year in the community, because if not, you get numbers that do not square away. And once they're exposed for a year, you ask the question, did this guy come back rearrested that year? And if he did, 6 months, that's a rearrest that goes to that percentage. And if he did a month 9, we already counted him. And then your question is, out of the people that were rearrested, how many were rearrested 1, 2, 3 times? And I don't have it in the PowerPoint, but it's in the report.
Okay.
And if Les, if you have the report and can let them know, yeah, that'd be good. This is now comparing Bexar County, which at the time of this report is the only one that we have, along the different populations, and you see there that in general Bexar County has a lower recidivism rate. And again, the thing that is popping out is these after-sentence people, people that go to jail, serve a sentence, get released, why your rearrest rate is substantially higher than in Bexar County. And like I said in the PowerPoint, I cannot answer that question, but as you work through Les and your committee, that's a pointer. Can you look at that and see if we can learn from that to improve that? This is looking at risk now, Commissioner. And you see there by different risk categories, your after-sentence population, generally speaking, except for the, well, for all of them, low risk, medium risk, and high risk, they're high. So when you compare apples to apples, when you look at Bexar County and you look at Tarrant County and say the low-risk population for serving a sentence in jail, what was their rearrest rate? In Tarrant County, 16%. In Bexar County, it's 13%. If you look at the high risk, in Bexar County, it's 32%. In here, it's 48%. So that's one of the big pointers that we mentioned during that meeting that we had. This is looking now at the different state populations, and the one with the arrow show your population in comparison to the Bexar, Dallas, and Harris County, and this is in the report. And you see again, overall, state jail releases is a very high recidivism rate, although Tarrant County now actually have the lowest recidivism rate for that population. Harris County is the one that almost half of their releases from the state jail get rearrested after a year. And I have a little clue of what's going on there, because in Harris County, what they do, they plead a lot of people to time serve to state jail instead of putting them on probation. So they have a lot of circulation of people to the state jail that have no incentive to do any better behavior. They just want to serve their time and get out. And it happened in all the counties, but they're particularly doing that a lot. And when they've seen this, because I have been there and they've seen that, they're already looking at it, and the prosecutor well, she was there, just got reelected, is looking at that and see what is it that they need to do from a plea bargaining perspective to maybe put more of these people on probation, and if they have substance abuse problems or mental health problems, trying to get them to services. So again, another example of what your report, because this is the first one, already triggered that conversation there. And as you know, none of this will change very rapidly, but just having that conversation now from this base of knowledge has been very, very important. You look at the state jail recidivism in all the counties, and this is looking at high risk. So let me show you how to read that chart for 1 second. So if you look there, you look down and you look at Tarrant County, you see there that 31% of your state jail population was low risk, and that is, you know, Harris is 34, so Harris put in a little bit more people that are low risk in that state jail. But if you look at the third row down, your recidivism rate for low risk in the state jail is actually lower than the Harris County recidivism rate for state jail, which is 31% versus 21% for yours. So talking to Harris County is not only are you putting people there for all these plea bargain reasons, and you have a very high recidivism rate, you have a very high recidivism rate along all the risk population. So low risk, 31%, you're the highest. Medium risk, 50%, you're the highest. High risk, 65%. That means that out of that number of people that we track, 1,770, more than 1,000 of them are back rearrested after a year from release from the state jail. That is not good, okay? So again, another example of how this is already having an impact, not only here, over there too. probation populations, pointers for review. A lot of the probation population is mainly low risk. If you look at the red square on the right, you see that, for example, probation population in Tarrant County, 63% is low risk. Now, for deferred adjudication, which is a different way of going in, it tend to be higher risk. And there are reasons for that, because they tend to put people in deferred adjudication that are sex offenders, where they cannot get a conviction, put it under supervision. But for some reason, they have a higher recidivism rate than your regular probationers. If you look at the red square on the left, the one-year recidivism rate in Tarrant County for that population is 36% if you're high risk, which is higher than the high-risk population on probation, 32%, and there are very few people that are high risk in the probation population, 9% compared to 37% in deferred adjudication. I don't want to drive you nuts with all these numbers, but the point is this is being seen by your coordinating council. This is being seen by Layton. Hopefully, Les, Sharon, DA needs to be appraised of that. I don't think she was in transition when we met. Now, we are adjusting here the recidivism rate, taking out the misdemeanor C, because you have more reporting than Bexar County, and we're going to do with all the counties. And you see there in the arrows where you are in comparison. And if you look at the after-sentence population, your recidivism rate, if we take out the misdemeanor C reporting, 34% versus 36% where we include that. So we're making the comparison with Bexar County. And even after taking that, the recidivism rate is higher here in terms of rearrest rate. We're doing the same thing here with the state populations, and I'm just pointing that out. Lots of information to try to absorb right now, but just to give you the point, this is the type of adjustment that we can make to make apples-to-apples comparison across all this population. And the same here, bless you, on adjusting that. And that's always have been a point of contention. Oh, don't compare my county to the other because you cannot do that very well. Well, now we can do it very well. And what it means is a bunch of questions that have been raised. And here are some of the questions that came up in the coordinating council meeting. What is the impact of not having post-release supervision for the offenders coming out from state jail? That's a big problem. It's more of a state policy conversation, although the counties could potentially take people from the state jail and put them in some reentry routine. Why is the recidivism the same in both counties for those released from prison to supervision? Why other populations are different? And that has something to do with having uniform supervision patterns by the parole division of the Department of Criminal Justice that apply across the counties, which is not the case when you're doing state jails, when you're doing releases from jails, when you're doing probation. Why does Tarrant County have a higher risk local jail population and recidivism rate than Bexar County, for example? And what is that telling us here in Tarrant County about sentencing patterns or supervision strategies that need to be looked at locally? Why recidivism rates are slightly better in Bexar County than in Tarrant County for those released on PR or commercial bond for all risk level? That's another type of question that we were pondering. We don't have answers to that, but it's just the type of markers that will get you to. So the idea of this project is to continue to do this for year 2, year 3. So you will end up with one group that was released in 2011 that you can talk about 1 year recidivism rate, 2 years, 3 years. Second group where you can talk about 1 year and 2 years, and a third group with 1 year. So you have multiple comparisons across years, across different groups, and get a sense of how this is improving, staying the same, what is that telling you to start digging deeper and evaluate some of the local policies working with your leaders here. Just a side note, because when doing some work in Bexar County and Harris and on dealing with population management, one of the issues that you all face is manage the jail population in a way that you don't run out of capacity, and that increases your cost. I think an unintended benefit of this project over the long term, Les and Chike, is that for the first time ever, there be somebody that have been able to dig through your jail population data, which is very difficult to sort out for analytical purposes. And we have done that already here, done that in Tarrant County and in Bexar County, about to do it in the other 3 counties. And understand that better, understand those patterns, because these are the patterns that impact your jail population growth. And if you want to manage that, what you need to develop is a way and a model that can give you the clue of how these patterns are changing. And instead of reacting to GK or Les coming in and say, hey, this month the jail population is 200 over, or whatever it is, you have a 6-month period ahead of time that basically says, given these patterns, if you continue to do this, you're going to run out of capacity in the jail. We used to do that for the state for 20 years, doing the projections for the prison system. And to do that, you need an in-depth analytical model. The tendency when you look at the jail population is to look at the pretrial. There's something with pretrial, we need to release something. And this is from the work that we have done in Bexar County. Just as an example, and I'm not picking on them for any reason, but this is a good example. This is the pie chart of how space is consumed in your jail. And what you see there, that there is this big chunk of people in the Bexar County jail that are awaiting transfer to prison, and they sit there for a long time, and they consume great part of their space. So whatever happened with that population has a great impact in managing your population. They had 12% of the people in jail that have spent time in jail just to have their case dismissed. And that is consuming 12% of their jail capacity. And my question to them is, why does people sit in there that long, and can you do something to deal with that population so they consume less capacity and free up space? And if you look there, the PR bond population, which is very important, but they circulate very fast, they only consume at any point in time 4% of the jail population. The point being here, and again, not picking on my buddies in Bexar County, but we're doing a lot of work there, is as you think about in the future taking all this data and knowledge that we're going to accumulate and trying to put it to a different use. One use is to try to simulate better what can happen in your jail population over time and have an early warning system so you can be reacting to potential changes in all this mix of population and how they move in the system and how that's going to impact your jail population. And I think that's the last one. And again, any questions, I'd be glad to answer. Les has a copy of the report. I've been reviewed by your committee. Glad to be here again. And if you don't have any questions, you know where to get me. It's over there. So, yes, sir.
I've got a comment or two,
Sure.
Dr. Favela. Thank you for this data. I recognize that it's your job to just prepare the data, and it's our job to drill down and determine what the data means and how it should be used. I would like to suggest that we do just that, Les, that we drill down and try to determine what exactly this data means. And I would suggest to you that one of the things that it means, or one of the uses to which we should put it, is to determine who needs to be in our jail in the first place. It seems to me from just a cursory look at the data that the longer a person stays in jail, the higher the likelihood of reoffending and becoming a part of that recidivism data. So I don't know what the process is in determining who is low risk, medium risk, and high risk. But we need to figure that out. And we need to figure out whether we can divert some of that low risk and medium risk population from incarceration into other types of programs where we might achieve better outcomes through adding services and community supervision rather than warehousing them in our jail.
Can I follow up?
Please.
Yeah. Thank you. In this project, you're right, we're not digging deeper, but that doesn't mean we don't dig deeper in projects when we have the funding and time and ability, and we do that a lot. And we're digging very deep in Bexar County, for example. We have a 3-year project there trying to change their whole magistration process and how they handle people so they go to mental health services. So one area to dig deeper, and I was talking to Les this morning about that, is, and I don't know what you do in this system, I know what we're doing in Bexar County, is to look at the mental health population. Are you screening them? Are you identifying them? Once you identify them, do you have a good hands-off policy for them to go to the mental health authority? And once you do that, do you have the right conditions of supervision to encourage to do that? Is your mental health authority willing to play ball and take this justice population? That's the project in Bexar County, and believe me, not easy. We have spent already a year there. We have these years where I have working committees. I was there yesterday, headed back tomorrow, where we're trying to sort this out. And the difficulty in doing it is that your system of booking and intake has a lot of, not yours, but theirs, and in general, a lot of them, a lot of glitches in trying to identify people, in part because sometimes they have to move too fast. And there's glitches in handing these people off to the mental health side, and there are glitches in making sure that they stay engaged in treatment. They do have higher recidivism rate. We look at in the Bexar County Jail, the mental health population sitting there, more than 55% of them have been rearrested more than 6 times. So they have what we call the frequent flyers. So they come in, and there is not that intervention. As they come in more and more, they take more time because they're sitting in jail longer, and if they're escalating the offenses, that consumes some of that time. That's a good example of digging deeper, and it'd be an area that you may want to look into.
I think you're absolutely right that the treatment of mental health inmates is a large part of the problem. It's a large part of the problem nationally. I chair the large urban county caucus of the National Association of Counties, and we are working with the Council of State Governments on the fact that in most of our large urban counties, the county jails are the largest provider of mental health services in that county.
And I'm sorry I didn't recognize you working with us. Probably Michael Thompson and Fred Osher there.
Yes.
And as you know, we're trying to have an announcement with NACO about a partnership for a call to action on this.
Yes.
And we're trying to figure out the date soon. And I don't know if you'll be there. I'm going to try to be there. Well, then I see you maybe in a couple of weeks. You know, if we're waiting for all the check marks to clear on this stuff. But that's why we're doing that. Exactly why we're doing that. It's an issue everywhere. And we have deep projects in Franklin County, which is Columbus, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Bexar County, and this is, but you have to go deep. There's a lot of processes and glitches and a lot of wiring that is not hooked to the right places that you have to unhook and hook it again, and wiring that is not hooked to anything, and wiring that is hooked to the faucet instead of the light switch. So you turn the light switch and the water come out, and you say, what? You know? And changing that takes a lot of time because everybody thinks that their wire is attached to the right place, and you go, no, no, no,
Sure.
no.
Well,
That's at the faucet over there.
the bottom line of the
Yeah.
point that I wanted to make is that space utilization is not the best use of this study. The best use of this study is how we can best serve that population, whether it is by incarceration or whether it is by community-based interventions of various types. And I would not like to see this study on somebody's shelf a year from now. I want it to be actively pursued, analyzed, and have some recommendations about how we can change systems to produce better outcomes. Thank you, Doctor.
Jacob, thank you, and thanks for your leadership in the NACO meeting. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions for you,
Sure.
Doctor. First one, the population that you study is the adult population, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you have plan to look at the juvenile
Yes, sir.
population and
Yes,
see
sir.
if
I'm
that
sorry
is-
you asked.
Okay.
We're releasing the most comprehensive report on juvenile justice ever done in Texas, January 29.
Okay. You'll be able to establish a link between juvenile and the adult population?
No,
No? Okay.
no.
It won't be.
But we've been able to establish a link on the recidivism rate and establish a link between locking them up versus putting them in the community.
Okay.
Establish a link between, what 8 counties are doing right and what 8 counties need to improve, and one of the counties is Tarrant County.
Okay.
You'll see that, and that's why I was here talking to Randy. He's putting together actually a plan in reaction. He has been briefed on what our report is about to say, and he's already putting an action plan to move forward along the core principles that we lay out nationally on how a good local probation system, juvenile justice system, what are the core principles that they should address. And in that report, we highlight the 8 counties, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. Not wrong, but they come short. And all the 8 counties are doing something right. They're doing something short. Randy is ahead of the game before the other 7 counties. And we're still working on how we're going to release the report. Well, we know we're going to release it at the Supreme Court chambers January 29 to a state audience and a national audience. And I just asked Andy, pending final details, to be in the panel to talk about what they're doing in Tarrant County. So,
Is there a plan to standardize the collection of these data on an ongoing basis
as a
statewide?
matter of fact, one of the things, again, out of this, when we do a report, it's like Commissioner Brooks said, we do more than a report. We try to make the system better. So we're not an academic institution just throwing numbers there and say, I'm gone, thank you for the money. We're here to help you, and I've been here for 30 years trying to help you in different ways along many other places. In this regard, we're working with the state agency, and Randy is part of a group that is coming with those type of proposals, and that is one of the proposals, the need to standardize how you assess these kids coming in a way that everybody's kind of measuring the same, agreeing on definitions of what is low, medium, high risk, what are needs that these kids have. And then the most challenging part, here and everywhere, is taking that information and work with the judiciary to make sure they understand what that information means, so they know what to make, how to make decisions to place these kids in the right program, right supervision, and right intervention. So that's one challenge. And then from the challenge of the department, once you get to sort out where these kids go, that makes sense to go, then working with the program providers and working with their staff to make sure that the principles of effectiveness have some fidelity and maintain those over time. And it's very hard to do.
Right.
Very hard to do.
We
And
certainly have the technology. We spend millions on technology, so somehow we need to make that investment work for us.
Right. And the trick, again, going deeper, you may have the technology, but ironically, asking Chike, can you give me a tour of the American Airlines Operations Center? Because I know it's here someplace and probably has some connections there. I said, why you want to do that? I say, because that's a place that I think applies technology to make decisions and sustain it over time. And I just want to know, okay, because I fly all the time. I have 1.5 million miles with American Airlines. But the challenge that you're facing is not only the technology, but the ability to have processes that stay in place over time.
You made my point. Thank you.
Right, so.
Doctor, thank you very much. We
Thank you.
appreciate your report.
Thank you. Thanks to be here. Say hi to Judge Whitley. Tell him I miss him.
All right.
A little bit, not too much.
All right. We will.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner,
Are there any announcements today? Let me just briefly mention that our CEO out at JPS, Robert Early, had an accident at home. He is in the hospital. He's doing quite well right now, but we all need to say our prayers for him and wish him the best.
Absolutely.
Any other comments? No reason for close today. This meeting's adjourned.